Hey everybody, and welcome back to another Max Velocity weather forecast. And in today's forecast, I'll be breaking down a strange storm that has been ongoing for the last several days that has already brought a lot of problems, including lots of travel impacts from blizzard conditions, pretty hefty amount of snow, 1 to 2 feet of snow in parts of the Central Plains. But now this storm is beginning to shift further to the east, and what this is going to do over the next 48 to 72 hours is bring a little bit of a rare snow event to parts of the Central Plains, the Ohio Valley, and then in even the southeast United States. Yes, you heard me right. The southeast United States will have a chance at some snow as we go into Thursday. We'll be giving you the latest breakdown on everything that you need to know in this forecast. And let's begin with what's right now happening in the United States today. And we'll begin with the Central Plains. And again, this is a very odd low pressure system, because you'll notice the low pressure center is right here across parts of Missouri, as well as Iowa, Kansas, and that is where a lot of the snow is right now. It's off to the north and west of this. And we've been seeing a lot of freezing rain, which has led to ice over the last 24 hours. And we've also saw a lot of snow, especially back over in parts of South Dakota and Nebraska, where some areas have picked up as much as 1 to 2 feet of snow. But this low pressure system is beginning to weaken a little bit. We're not seeing nearly as much precipitation, and it's a lot of the precipitation that we have right now is on the lighter side of things. So I don't think we're going to be really looking at 1 to 2 feet of snow anywhere else from here on out, but there will be some snow that'll stretch anywhere from potentially Alabama and Georgia back into areas like Oklahoma and Kansas, and we'll be breaking that down more for you in detail here in just a moment. Now back over to the east, we have a lot more precipitation to deal with for those from Florida back into areas in the northeast. This is where we've been having some showers and even some storms. We might see an isolated severe storm near South Carolina this afternoon, but I'm not concerned about severe weather out of this particular storm. I think most of this activity will just be rain that could lead to even some isolated flash flooding, so keep that in mind if you have any outdoor plans for today. And one other thing I wanted to point out with this low pressure system is notice this dry slot right here, and that's actually what's weakening this low pressure system, is that we have all this dry air actually going into the low pressure system itself. So that's why the system's been weakening a little bit over the last 24 hours, but overall it will still weaken as it moves to the east, but it will still bring some snow, and I'll be talking about that again more in just a couple minutes. Now here's what this low pressure system looks like in the mid latitude level. So we're at the 700 millibar chart, and this is actually a bit of a rare event, especially for December. We don't usually see cutoff lows, and what I'm talking about is when we have a low pressure system that is entirely separated from the polar jet stream. Our polar jet stream's well back up to the north in Canada, and this low pressure system is a very strong low pressure system, 1, and 2, it is completely cut off from the jet stream. So this is again a cutoff low. Usually what that means is that these low pressure systems are going to be moving slower than the typical low pressure system that's with a jet stream. So obviously we've been seeing that over the last 24 hours, where this low pressure system has actually gone backwards a little bit and now is circling back toward the east. That's what we've been seeing. Again, it's a very slow moving system, doesn't really have a direction, so that's why we've been seeing the system move so slowly. But as we go over the next few days, I do expect this to move a bit further off to the east, and I don't think it's going to stay a cutoff low forever. I do think the polar jet stream will start to kind of attach to it again. This will still be a closed low though, which still means it's going to be moving quite slow as we go into Thursday, but it should become much more connected to the jet stream as we get closer to the weekend and as this moves toward the east coast. But again, just a little interesting scientific approach to what we're seeing with this low pressure system right now. Here are the watches and warnings across the United States. A lot of these will not be lasting too much longer into today, but we do have ice storm warnings still in effect for parts of South Dakota, even North Dakota, and as well as parts of western Minnesota. Only 3 counties there included in that. Winter weather advisories have been issued all the way as far south as Kansas. Blizzard warnings still in effect in those red boxes as winds remain high. Blowing and drifting snow will remain very common throughout the day today, so keep that in mind. And I would not recommend traveling until at least tomorrow, where the conditions become much safer. Now here's the future radar across the United States, and let's talk more about that rare snow event that's going to be upcoming. This is what we're looking at today. So again, notice that dry slot ushering into this low pressure system, and that's why we're seeing a big weakening trend with this. And again, a lot of cold air advection as well around this low pressure system. Again, very impressive overall. Still have some snow out there, but it's again much lighter than yesterday. We had a lot of heavy snow yesterday. This is again in the lighter sense of things. Still a little bit of freezing rain as well, but again, that's also pretty light, but that'll obviously cause some travel impacts on its own. Still some rain on the East Coast as of right now, maybe an isolated shower or storm for parts of Florida through the rest of the afternoon. Now going to tomorrow, that's where things get a little bit different. The low pressure system will continue on this weakening trend, which is good news if you're looking forward to really no snow at all. But for those that want some snow, we might see some little rare aspects kind of develop with this, because look at this by Wednesday morning. We are going to be still looking at a little bit of very light snow, maybe a mixture of rain and snow across Missouri. That's not really rare, but once we go closer to Wednesday afternoon into the evening hours, this starts to move a bit further off to the east. We get a little batch of energy coming off the Great Lakes. If the weather's cold enough going into Thursday evening, we actually could see this transition into snow, which might lead to actually a few inches of snow in parts of Illinois. But notice as we go into Friday morning, we actually could see some snow leak down into areas like Alabama and Georgia, and that could be very interesting. That's definitely a bit more of a rare sort of event that does not happen very often. Even though we're in December, that's definitely not something that happens very often, so that might be something to watch for. Once we go into next weekend and early next week, things become a lot less active overall in terms of the weather, and I do expect things to become much more active though as we get closer to the second week of January. Now let's go region by region. I'm going to show you a closer look at everything and show you how much snow you might see across parts of the Central Plains and as well as back into areas like the Southeast. Here's the future radar in the Northern Plains. Snow continues all the way through tonight and tomorrow morning. I think overall most of the snowfall will remain light, and then once we go into late Wednesday night into Thursday morning, that's when most of the snow does begin to clear out. Additional snowfall accumulation in most areas will be around 3 to 5 inches of snow. Back down in the Central Plains, again, this is your low pressure system. We'll also be having to watch for Oklahoma because we could get some isolated flurries. Even as far south as central or southern Oklahoma is not out of the question overnight tonight to tomorrow morning, where we might see an isolated flurry shower basically move through parts of Oklahoma. Again, I'm not expecting accumulation there, but it is something to watch for. If you're looking forward to some snowfall, you might see an isolated snowflake or two overnight tonight. And then even into parts of northern Arkansas, we actually could see some maybe a coating to a half an inch of snow in the furthest northern sections there of northern Arkansas with this low pressure system. Thursday morning, we'll have another shot of some flurries in parts of Oklahoma, which for Oklahoma, we do see a bit more commonly here. It's not usually that much, but we do see some snow. So again, this is not by any means super rare, but it's definitely gonna be something to watch for here if you're in Oklahoma. Again, that'll be Thursday morning. We might see some flurries. I don't anticipate any accumulation in any of these areas. The only exception would again be Arkansas. And what we're looking at in terms of snowfall totals over the next 48 hours, again, we might see around a coating of a half an inch if you're back over in northern parts of Arkansas, but elsewhere, maybe an inch to 3 inches in some spots across Missouri. That's definitely in play. Again, areas across Kansas and Nebraska will see an additional 3 to 5 inches of snow. Again, some areas might see a lot less than that the further south you go. We might see an isolated coating in northwest Oklahoma by Thursday morning, but I don't anticipate really much of anything there. Here's what we're looking at across areas like Kentucky, Tennessee, and Missouri. Again, notice the low pressure system. We'll be watching for some isolated snow flurries going into Thursday morning across areas like Kentucky and Tennessee. Now, this particular computer model does not go far out enough to show you what's happening during the daytime on Thursday. So let's look at the NAM model, and this is going to show you what we're looking at going to Thursday. This is a bit of a question mark right now. It's going to depend on how cold it is, but I do think there will be enough energy to the point where we will see at least rain across areas like Missouri or even Illinois. I don't know if we're going to see snow like this. Again, it's a bit of a question mark. Stay tuned. The odds of this are pretty low. If we did see this, we would be talking about upwards of 1 to 3 inches of snow, some isolated spots closer to 4 to 6 inches of snow, but I think that chance is pretty low. What I want to show you more though of going into Friday would be the snow potential as far south as areas like Mississippi, Alabama, and northern Georgia. These will be the areas to watch for the potential for some isolated snow flurries. Again, I don't anticipate accumulation, but going into Friday, this will be the time frame to watch for some isolated snow flurries. I don't think we're going to see accumulation again this far down to the south, but it will be something to watch for, and I will touch on this in our next forecast, so make sure you subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon so you don't miss our next forecast. That's what we're looking at in terms of snowfall totals. Again, this up here is a huge question mark right now. I would not be thinking that we're going to be seeing 6 to 10 inches of snow unless, again, it's cold enough and we have enough energy to support moderate to heavy snowfall. That is a very low chance. I think overall across this entire region, you'll be basically lucky to see a scattered coating to 3 inches. Further down to the south and east, I don't think we're going to really see any accumulation in this region. If we do, it'll be around a coating. So most of this area will be basically only flurries. That's all I'd be really expecting across areas like Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, Tennessee, Kentucky, and even back into parts of western North Carolina, and perhaps maybe a very small sliver there of northwest South Carolina. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like the button down below and subscribe if you've not already.